Welcome to AM. I'm Jeff Childs, and we're here today with Marcus, the Heatmeister Divine. How you doing today, Marcus?
Man, I'm doing great, Jeff.
Great. Good to have you.
Glad to be here, man.
Yeah, producer extraordinaire, recording artist,
Right.
and you've been in this business for a long time, upwards of 20 years.
Right.
Wore a lot of different hats, as I said, producer and artist. And you know, how did you first know that this is what you wanted to do? When did that light go off to where you were like, this is what I want to do, I'm going to devote the rest of my life to doing this? When did you first realize that?
Well, the honest answer is I used to play basketball for high school, and I thought I was going to be an NBA basketball player. And I did a talent show in high school, and the girls went crazy.
Yeah?
So when that happened, I was like, okay, girls like singers. So for my 11th grade year, we were on our way to Christmas tournament to play basketball, and I didn't want to go. I'm like, I want to be a singer. I want to do this. And
I got that. Yeah, you're thinking to yourself, I got that velvety voice.
Yeah,
this is where it's at.
So my coach called me like, yo, we on the bus, where you at? And I was like, yo, coach, I quit. I don't want to do this no more. He cussed me out. The rest is history, but I think I made the right choice. You know what I mean? I've been doing this for over 20 years, successfully so.
Okay. And my next question for you is, you worked with a lot of interesting people. Mm-hmm. You worked with Destiny's Child, with Silk, a lot of influential people.
Right.
Of those people, what are some interesting stories that you have that you could share with our viewers? Just from the crazy to the really good stories. What can you share with us today?
Well, with the Destiny Child situation, that was more so you send the track, they write to it, record it, and you get to hear the finished product. So we didn't actually get a chance to go in the studio and do it together. So I wish I would have been able to work with Beyonce and the girls, you know.
Who wouldn't?
Oh my God, you know what I mean? But I didn't get a chance to do that. But with Silk, that was great. I went to Atlanta and we recorded a song that called Slow Grind that I produced for them. I mean, they just can sing. I love singers, so that's the great part of working with people that can sing. Like I'm just constantly getting amazed through the whole session. You know what I mean? So, I think that's there's nothing really crazy happening, and some of the things that happen I don't want to say in the interview.
Nothing on the air. No story where you had some just performer who was just felt really entitled and tore up a hotel room, or stories that you read about.
No, not like that.
We'll just leave that on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, that's when the camera go off. I'll tell you those stories.
Okay.
Nah, nothing really crazy. Studio sessions, you know, some people got rituals that other people don't have, you know what I mean? And I can't name people.
Little quirks like certain athletes, they'll wear something for a certain game, or something with musicians and performers. And
my issue most of the time would be like when you come to the studio, I tell most women that I work with, like, how do you come to the studio in high heels and tight jeans to record a song? Like, we in here to work, like, you know what I mean?
That's uncomfortable. How many hours in that?
I would think so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You'd think.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but that's about it.
I just don't want to see you in stilettos or anything like that.
Well, that won't happen.
Okay.
Trust me. That won't happen.
Okay.
Ever.
Okay. Okay, so for viewers that aren't aware, that have never heard any of your music, the uninitiated fan, how would you describe both yourself and your music, and what would you say to give them a taste, a sample of what you're all about? Your shirt says "I'm doing me," and we spoke earlier before we started shooting. You're a very authentic, very genuine person.
Right.
You are as you are. So what would you tell them?
Well, it's just me being real. Like, that's if you say, what is your music? Like, how do you describe it? It's just real. And not judgmental real. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not saying your music is not real. I just write what I know about and what I live. Like, on my album, you won't hear me about popping bottles, being with models, and in the VIP, in the club. Like,
in your Benz.
Yeah, I don't have a Benz. So I'm not going to write a song about being in the Benz with the 9-bedroom house. I don't own that. So I'm not going to write about that because that's not true. I actually want you to listen to my music and actually know who I am. You know, how I feel about things and how I view things. And I think that's what's missing from music. So in my music, you're going to be like, okay, I see that. Or I want you to be able to see my song in your life My thing now is I say I don't write songs anymore. I write 3.5-minute movies.
Uh-huh.
So every time you listen to a Marcus Divine song, whether it's on me or another artist, I want you to go on a journey. And after it's done, be like, wow. You know, so.
I have a bit of a film background, and telling that story, that creative process is something I love, and that was going to be my next question.
Okay.
You described songs as mini movies. Like, so you're writing a song, you're almost like writing a screenplay, characters, things that happen.
Right.
Just expand on that a little bit, and maybe tell us how that process works for you.
Well, you know, in every movie, there's a climax part. That would be my bridge. You know what I mean? The setting of the storyline. That's the verse. The hook is where they fall in love. You get them.
You got this all figured out.
Oh yeah, you got to. I mean, I actually write plays too, so that helps me with the whole, you know, thinking of it as a movie. And I think great songs of the past, that's what made you like the songs, you know what I mean? I'm not a young guy, you know. I'm not extra young. I'll put it like that.
We're not going to divulge anything.
Oh no,
on air.
I wasn't gonna say it.
Don't worry.
I wasn't gonna say it.
Okay.
But the music I grew up on, it made a difference. Like I'll tell everybody, Tuesdays came around, we knew Tuesday. Oh, new music coming out. It's time to go to the store, because there was an artist you wanted to see. There was an artist you wanted to hear. Now, Tuesday come around, you just bought the last artist last week. This artist coming out sounding just like the last artist last week. So I think if I write something that actually touches Jeff, that song becomes a part of Jeff. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. There are just certain songs, you hear it, and you're like, oh, I know exactly where I was when what I was doing when this happened.
Right.
There's that association that just, you can't match that.
Like Babyface, like when I listen to old Babyface songs, I can be like, wow, I remember when I was, because he wrote songs. And I tell people, like, they call songs now bangers. Ooh, I need a banger. When people call me to produce a song, they don't be like, hey, I need a song. It's like, yo, I need a banger. Like, no, I do songs. It's not about a banger. I want something that's 10 years from down the line to put it on, and it means something to you. It's 10 years down the line.
It's going to have staying power. It's going to last. It's not just something that people recycle. And I was going to ask, do you, the way the industry is now and how people are releasing things via Twitter and other social media and just think that's the way I'm going to get my music out, do you lament the way that has gone, and you take pride in being, well, I guess we'll say a little bit more old-fashioned and you know, pounding the pavement, going to the store, buying the music that way, you know, advertising it?
Twitter is a great thing. When I say that, it's free. You know what I mean? Like Facebook, free. All of those things are great because they're free. But what I do understand, if we're all on Twitter selling our song, nobody's buying a song. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
that's the downside.
Yeah, that's the downside. And all of my friends are artists. So the key is to understand that we support each other. So if you got 100,000 followers, I got 100,000 followers, the key is for me to support you and for my followers to see that I support you. You know what I mean? Not so much try to sell my record to Jeff. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah, you're just trying to. It's like radio airplay. You're trying to whet somebody's appetite to where they're saying, "Oh, I've heard this. I like it.
Yes,
I'm going to go support this artist now."
Right. And with Twitter and Facebook, like I say, I love them because they're free platforms that you can promote yourself. But what's being missed is the pounding of the pavement, the flyers, the street promotions. Like, for me, it's not bad. It's lovely that nobody's doing it because that's exactly what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I'm going that route, but I'm still going to be electronic though. Like I'm gonna have electronic releases, iTunes, CD Baby. I'm still going to do that, but the promotion and the marketing part of it, I'm going old school.
Old school. That's people need to cash in on that, and you're doing that, and nobody else is.
Right.
And you're going to have the advantage.
Right. I want to be on the upswing of the pendulum. You know what I mean?
So you, well, we just sort of touched on it, but you release things yourself. You've done things more the independent route as opposed to maybe signing with the label.
Right.
I'm sure you enjoyed that decision you made. I'm
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, I was just going to say, just tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I enjoy it because I like no pressure. I love living with no pressure. Me recording the album myself, producing it, engineering it. I don't owe anybody, so there's nobody over my shoulder like, you need to hurry up and put this album out and do it like this. I get to slow walk it, I get to promote it, and so that helps me make better decisions in what what I'm doing with my record. You understand what I'm saying?
You have creative license. I mean, I'm sure we've all had a boss over the shoulder. You don't have to worry about that
at all. So right now I'm happy with the project. So if I sell 2 copies, I'm extra happy. You know what I mean? I don't owe anybody at all. So if I sell 10,000 copies, that's $100,000. $100,000 on something you didn't spend $1 to make. That's I don't think nobody would deny that that's a great business situation.
Oh, you need to get me in on that, man. I'd be happy. Okay, so what I was going to ask you next is, did you have any certain artists who were influences, and what you do now, taking what you've done, do you hope to influence people, young kids just starting out?
I definitely have influences. I mean, whether it's producers or artists. Like one of my favorite singers in the world is Donny Hathaway. Like, I don't think you can be a quality male singer or artist and he hasn't had an influence on you in some kind of way. Stevie Wonder, the passion and the intensity of Marvin Gaye, like all of those people influenced me. But it's not just the older guys, like, Usher. Like, I look at everybody. I can learn from everybody. My daughter, she's 3. She influences me. I know, I'm dead serious. Like, because I watch her and things that motivate her helps me with my music. Like, I play a song for her. If she doesn't pay attention, I'm like, okay, that's not as hot as I think it is. You know what I mean?
She's maybe moving her head a little bit, moving around, or she feels something.
Right. So
she maybe can't tell me what it is.
Right. But if it's moving her, I know I'm doing something right. And when it comes to producers, Quincy Jones, Rodney Jerkins, Brian Michael Cox, and the cool thing is I know these guys. A lot of the people that influence me, that I look up to, are people that I know, and that's a beautiful place to be. So.
Exactly. It sounds good.
Yeah.
We're going to switch gears a little bit here.
Okay.
You talked about plays and playwriting and writing music for plays. Now, how are those processes similar? How are they different? What can you take from one that you can apply to another, where it's that constant learning experience?
Well, it's almost the same, because even with the music, I approach it the same, because it's a roller coaster. All of it is a roller coaster. It's all to evoke emotion. I don't care whether you go to a play, when you write a song, if somebody's mother died, you need to write a song that makes the audience like, that was my mama, even though it wasn't, but they need to feel like that. So with the song, if I lost my girl, if you ever lost your girl, I need you to sit in my seat for 3.5 minutes and understand what I feel like for 3.5 minutes. So to me, it's exactly the same thing.
Mr. Divine, he's a true original. I'll tell you that.
Man. Thanks, man. Thanks,
well,
man.
What I was going to talk to you about next is you got a new album out, and this is the first album that you've done a lot of producing, but this is the first album that you specifically for yourself have recorded.
Right.
And you got a single on there that I took a listen to, Ground Ball, and I love that, man. And we talked earlier, and both of us, we're not the clubbing type.
Nah.
But tell us a little bit about this album, and this has just got to be a great experience for you.
Well, the album is called The Matinee.
Okay.
And it's totally based on the movie thing, the 3.5-minute movies. The way I came up with the name, I was sitting at home and I was talking to my girl, and I'm like, yo, I need to figure out a name for the album. And she knows about the movie, the way I approach the songs as movies. And she just turned and said, call it The Matinee. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, it was no thinking, it was no nothing.
Nothing behind it, yeah.
It was just instant, like, wow, that's the name. So the name of the album is The Matinee, and it's going to take you on a journey, as far as love, being in love, falling out of love, the whole nine, just life, period. Like with Ground Ball, it's a song that I dedicate to all the insecure brothers. You know what I mean? That come to the club with the finest girl in the club, but he's pouting and he's upset that we all looking at her. Like, you should have left her at home if you didn't want us to look at her. So and we all seen it in one form or another. You know what I mean? It don't have to be the club. It could be the baseball game. It could be anywhere. The guy comes, he's holding her hand, but he can't even enjoy her because he's looking at all of us. looking at his trophy. Hey, she's beautiful. Don't be upset. So this song is dedicated to all the guys that's insecure, that's in the club with their arms folded, pouting, want to beat up everybody because he has a wonderful girl.
Sounds good, man. So the future, what's coming up for you?
Well, working the record. The single comes out September 4th. Working Ground Ball. Then I just made a couple phone calls. We're about to work on a remix for Ground Ball. And I don't have a release date for the album yet. I got one more song to cut with Dave Hollister. Once we do that song, then I'll be done with the album. I have a girls group that I'm working on named DMK. They just won Wild Out Wednesday for 106 in Park last week, so we're finishing up their single. I have a new artist on my label named Gwen Nation. She's a monster. When I tell you, R&B needs to watch out. Like, it's definitely a movement that's happening in the furnace right now.
That's where it's at?
Yeah, the furnace is the place to be right now.
Marcus, who's the most inspirational artist that you worked with that's really had that true impact on you?
Well, that I've worked with would have to be Dave Hollister. He's my big brother, and even through the process of me doing my record, he's been encouraging me. He's one of the few artists that I've never felt that was afraid to let me be me. I'm a huge fan of his, but in return, he's a huge fan of mine. So he's definitely one of the most inspirational people, artists, well-known artists in my life that's influenced what I do.
Okay. This, what you do, it's not easy. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of self-sufficiency there. Mm-hmm. How do you do that? How do you get up every morning and say, this is what I'm going to do, no matter what obstacle I come across? How do you do that? What's the thought process?
The crazy thing is, I quit every day. I know that sounds crazy.
You just start anew every day, though.
I quit every day. Yeah. Tomorrow, I'm not going to do this, but every morning I get up. It's because it's me. I don't have anything else. You know what I mean? There are no plan Bs. There are no other options.
This is what you've always done and what you love to do.
What I love to do.
And I feel like so many people, that's something they want to be able to say,
right,
but they're not there yet. But you live that. You live that every day.
And I had to make a conscious decision to do it. You know what I mean? I had to make a decision not to let it be a hobby. Because when it was a hobby to me, it wasn't happening. Mm-hmm. I remember being at work one day. I was working at a metal cutting place where I was a torch and at a metal cutting place, and I would go home and face be all sooted up, and I'm like, God, this is not for me. And one day at work, I just literally prayed to God and said, God, this is not for me. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. And I walked in the office and told my boss, like, look, I quit. This is in the middle of the day. I was like, I quit, and God, you're gonna have to take care of me. And literally from that day on, I've been doing this professionally since that day.
Well, I think we're all glad that you have been and that you continue to do, and I'm sure a lot of people feel this way, and I do too. Just having that that hope that what you're meant to do is still out there, and saying what I'm doing now is not what I was meant to do. I got bigger plans. God has bigger plans for me, and I totally know where you're coming from on that. Yeah,
and you got to let Him be God. That's the key. You know what I mean? We don't have the faith. People don't understand, and we're not about to get real spiritual here.
Sure.
But faith without works is dead. A lot of people say, I'm gonna sit back and wait on the Lord. Nah, faith without works is dead. If I would have just sat there and worked every day and never put in and practiced my craft and just be like, I know one day the Lord is going to make a way. But if I'm never at a studio, if I'm never doing what I need to do, nobody's going to come in the yard where I'm working and say, hey, you want to record a record?
Uh-huh.
That's not going to happen. So I had to make a faith leap and say, God, I'm going to let you be God and do this for me.
Okay.
So,
on that note, I just wanted to thank you for coming in and sitting down with us.
Oh, man.
We really enjoyed it. I hope you had a good time.
Oh, wonderful, man.
Tell our viewers where they can go to get more information on you, on your albums.
Well, you can reach me at twitter.com, The Heat Miser, DAHEATMIZER, or facebook.com, The Heat Miser, Heatmizer.
Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you, man.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes, pleasure's all mine, bro.
For AM, this is Jeff Childs. Become the change.